Would it benefit me to learn guitar theory?
It depends on what's meant by guitar theory. So if your conception of guitar theory is going to Amazon, for example, and buying a book, and you flip through the pages and you see a bunch of sheet music and you see a bunch of symbols and you see things like the circle of fifths or the cage system or XYZ. Can those things be useful? Yes. That's why they were invented. They're tools. That's all it is. Music theory is a labeling system. It's not something that just exists. It's called theory for a reason because it's literally a labeling system or a language that people made up to be able to talk about music in English or in Spanish or whatever spoken language, right? We can communicate in terms of sound, but you can't talk about it. So music theory was invented to basically make sense of what's going on in terms of sound and then talk about it through spoken language to other people. So would it benefit you? Sure, certain aspects would, but I can't tell you how many, in fact, it might almost be 100%. I can't tell you how many people that I know who went to school for music, who study like composition or study music theory or something like that. In fact, I used to have a lot of students actually, one in particular that I'm thinking about, who went to school and got a master's degree in music theory and then came in for lessons and couldn't play a darn thing on the guitar. And we would think that like, you know, shouldn't somebody that's, going to like PhD level music theory and all that, shouldn't he be able to be really good on guitar? Well, not necessarily because that's not how it works. The reason I'm hesitating to say it's more of a it depends answer. It's not yes it will benefit you or no it will not benefit you. It can benefit you or it can really harm you depending on where you're at, what you're wanting to do on guitar or what you're wanting to learn. So earlier I talked about making sense of how music works, period. The big picture. Like how does it work? In a very simple layman's terms, how does it work? If you understand that, everything else will fall in place. And you'll find that you really don't need to study a bunch of theory. Like, in fact, there are so many musicians that you can look up videos. There's one particular video I'm thinking of right now, a guitar player named Guthrie Govan. And in my opinion, he's one of the best guitar players of all time. There's a video where somebody asked him this exact same question. And he basically says that, yes, some of this stuff can be useful, but at the end of the day, music is a language, and the way you learn to just like any language, the way you learn to speak was by doing it and watching people and mimicking them. So, for example, when you were a kid, I know we had English class or language class in school, but you were already speaking by the time you went to those classes, right? So
That's a good point.
how did we learn a language? Well, we just learn it like naturally. You just watch people do things. People talk to you. They hold up a plate or something and say, "This is a plate," and you kind of learn naturally how the language works and how to talk and how to speak and how to communicate. You'll find that if you watch interviews with the best musicians, that's how they learned because music is a language. But the people who go to English class and they learn all the grammar rules, I mean, how many of those do you remember? How many of those do you use every day? Do you know what an infinitive is or a gerund? Like, what does that even mean, right? We don't use that stuff. So my overall point is the reason I'm pointing out these examples is because I'm trying to illustrate the idea that yes, you can study music theory and you can go really deep on it and you can learn some useful tools. But at the end of the day, it's about sitting down and communicating in the language of music and not thinking. The more stuff you learn about the theory and you try to apply it to your guitar, the more you start thinking and the less you start playing. You don't, it sounds stilted, it sounds mechanical and it sounds robotic, etc. And so, you just kind of have to look at who came before you, what did they do, and what seems to work. All those musicians who really didn't study much theory, Prince, Eric Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, there's quotes about these guys saying, like, if I would have done that stuff, it probably would have bogged me down because I'm just in the moment, right, when I'm playing. And then if you go look at all the guys who went to, let's say, music theory, school for music theory, or got a degree in music theory or something like that, yes, there's a lot of great players. But there's also a lot of people who just really can't play anything, and they're only like book smart, right? And at the end of the day, it's not about knowing about the guitar. It's about playing the thing. It's about people want to hear you play. They don't care how much you know about it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. I love the example of learning language because babies, they actually they don't know full words. They just start trying to say words. They just start trying to say things until it actually starts making sense, and then the parents freak out. Oh, wow, that's actually a word, right? That you know,
Yep.
he said ball. No, he didn't really say maybe. It sounds like kind of sounds like ball, right? Like that could be like that's similar to some people's journey when they're sitting down on the guitar for the first time. They're trying to say words on their guitar, and eventually it comes out sounding similar to what you would expect, to sound musical, right?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. And how do you get it to sound like that? Well, you just have to listen to other people who are already making the words, and you mimic what they're doing, and eventually your playing starts to sound like that too.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. I love it. I love it. I love music because, like what you said, you start learning just kind of like how it sounds. Where once you learn one instrument, like you don't really need to know the theory side of things. You just need to know how it works basically, and then you can pick up a bass guitar. You can find your way around a piano. It all matches. It all makes sense together. So I
Exactly.
can't tell you the last time I actually looked at a piece of sheet music, trying to yeah, just trying to figure that out. Yeah, it's just those things you
Yeah.
learn if you go to music school. Those are the things they teach you, right? Notation and all that stuff, and it's rarely used.
Well, let's also make this disclaimer too. If you go to music school, you're paying for it, and they have to have a semester and a
Hmm.
curriculum and things to teach you, right? So what are they going to fill up your time with in order for you to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to music school? Just because somebody goes to music school doesn't mean they're going to be a great musician. It means that they're paying for a lot of classes and they may or may not be okay at guitar or piano or whatever it is that they are selecting to play. But just keep in mind that the music school is a business and they need to have something to make the curriculum out of, right? So it's not necessarily trying to teach you how to play in the fastest way possible.
Yeah. Good points. Good points. All right. All right. Hey, thanks so much for watching that video. That was just a short clip of one of our longer Q&A videos. If you're interested in watching some more of those videos, then I recommend you hit the subscribe button over here. It's really awesome. Also, we got more videos over here, so check some out if you're interested in learning more about breakthrough guitar or advancing your guitar skills. Peace.